My dear child. Something happened that nobody expected. A conversation took place behind closed doors. A conversation your soulmate never thought they would have. The words they spoke were not meant for the entire family. They were spoken to one person they believed could still understand the truth. That person was your brother. What was said during that conversation carried years of silence, hidden emotions, and unanswered questions. Before you hear another word, listen carefully. Because every sentence in this message has been placed before you for a reason, and the ending of this story may change the way you see everything that has happened between you and your soulmate. Your soulmate had spent countless nights convincing themselves that staying silent was the safest choice. They believed that keeping their feelings hidden would protect everyone from more pain. But silence has a strange way of becoming heavier than the truth. Day after day, they carried memories that refused to disappear. Every place reminded them of you. Every celebration felt incomplete. Every smile they forced upon their face hid another layer of regret. While the world believed they had moved on, deep inside they were fighting a battle no one else could see. They knew they had made choices under pressure. They knew fear had stolen precious moments that could never be returned. Yet they also believed it was already too late to explain everything. Then something unexpected happened. They realized there was still one person connected to you who might be willing to listen without judgment. They did not choose the loudest voice in the family. They did not choose someone who would spread rumors. They chose your brother because they believed that if anyone truly cared about your happiness, it would be him. Making that decision was not easy. Their hands trembled before making the call. Several times they almost ended it before anyone answered. They wondered if they even deserved to speak after remaining silent for so long. But their heart kept whispering that one honest conversation was better than another lifetime filled with regret. Don't skip. Because what happened next explains why this conversation became so important. When your brother finally answered, there was a long pause before either of them spoke. Neither knew where to begin. The silence itself carried years of unanswered questions. Finally, your soulmate took a deep breath and admitted that they had not called to defend themselves. They had not called to blame anyone. They had not called to reopen old wounds. They had called because they could no longer carry the weight of the truth alone. Those words immediately changed the atmosphere of the conversation. Your brother realized this was not another emotional excuse. It was the beginning of a confession that had been waiting far too long. Your soulmate explained that there were countless moments when they wanted to reach out to you directly, but every attempt was stopped by fear. Fear of rejection. Fear that too much damage had already been done. Fear that hearing your voice would remind them of everything they had lost forever. They admitted that they often wrote messages they never sent. They saved drafts that remained hidden for months. They even imagined what they would say if they ever met you again, only to erase every word because they believed they no longer had the right to disturb your peace. Every unsent message became another invisible scar upon their heart. Your brother listened quietly. He did not interrupt. Instead, he asked one simple question that changed everything. He asked, "If you still care this much, why did you disappear when they needed answers the most?" That question struck your soulmate harder than anything they had prepared for. For several moments they could not speak. They knew there was no perfect explanation. They admitted that they had allowed outside voices, family pressure, misunderstandings, and fear to become stronger than the truth inside their own heart. They confessed that every day since then had been filled with regret. They said that success never felt complete, celebrations never felt joyful, and peace never truly returned because one part of their heart had always remained with you. Don't skip. Because the next confession was something your brother never expected to hear. Your soulmate revealed that there were people who quietly influenced every decision, convincing them that walking away would somehow protect everyone involved. They believed those voices at the time because they were emotionally exhausted and afraid of creating even greater conflict. Looking back now, they realized those same voices disappeared the moment everything fell apart. The people who encouraged separation moved on with their own lives, while your soulmate remained trapped inside memories that refused to fade. That realization became one of the greatest lessons of their life. They finally understood that listening to fear had cost them something more valuable than they could ever replace. As the conversation continued, your brother noticed something unusual. Your soulmate never once asked whether you had moved on. They never asked if someone else had entered your life. Instead, they only asked one quiet question. Are they truly happy? That single sentence revealed more than hours of explanation ever could. It showed that beneath all the regret, the deepest desire was not control or possession. It was simply the hope that you had found peace, even if they believed they no longer deserved to be part of it. Hearing those words left your brother completely silent because sincerity cannot be hidden forever. Before ending the conversation, your soulmate said there was one final truth they had carried alone for far too long. A truth they had never shared with anyone in the family because they feared it would change everything. Your brother stopped them and quietly said, "If you're finally ready to tell the whole story, don't leave out a single detail." At that exact moment, your soulmate took one deep breath and began revealing the secret that had been hidden since the very beginning. The moment your brother gave them permission to speak without hiding anything, your soulmate closed their eyes for a few seconds. It was as if they were gathering the courage to unlock a door that had remained sealed for years. When they finally began speaking again, their voice was quieter than before, yet every word carried a weight that could not be ignored. They admitted that the biggest mistake of their life was not simply walking away. Their greatest mistake was believing that silence would protect the people they loved. Instead, silence created confusion. Silence allowed assumptions to grow stronger than facts. Silence gave other people the opportunity to write a story that was never true. Your brother remained calm. He did not rush them. He simply listened. That alone encouraged your soulmate to continue. They confessed that after the separation, there were countless nights when they replayed every conversation they had ever shared with you. They remembered the promises that once felt unbreakable. They remembered the dreams both of you spoke about with complete confidence. They remembered the smallest details that most people would have forgotten, the way you encouraged them during difficult days, the laughter that appeared when everything else felt uncertain, and the comfort of knowing someone truly believed in them. Those memories never disappeared. Instead, they became stronger every year. Don't skip. Because the next part of the conversation revealed something your brother never imagined. Your soulmate admitted that there was one particular day they almost came back. They had already made up their mind. They were ready to explain everything, apologize for every misunderstanding, and finally tell the truth face to face. But before they could reach you, someone convinced them that returning would only create more pain. They were told that you deserved a peaceful future without reopening old wounds. At that time, they believed those words. Looking back now, they realized they had allowed fear to make one final decision for them. It became the decision they regretted more than any other. Your brother asked quietly, "Have you ever forgiven yourself?" The question caught your soulmate completely off guard. They looked away before answering. After several moments of silence, they whispered that they had tried many times, but every attempt failed. Every birthday, every holiday, every important milestone reminded them of the person they could never truly forget. Outwardly, life continued moving forward. Inwardly, part of them remained trapped in the past, waiting for a conversation they believed would never happen. They then confessed something even more emotional. They admitted that there were moments when they heard your name unexpectedly, from an old friend, a familiar place, or even a random stranger, and every single time their heart reacted before their mind could stop it. No matter how much time passed, your name still carried the same emotional weight it always had. That frightened them because it proved their feelings had never completely disappeared. Don't skip. Because your brother's next words changed the entire direction of the conversation, instead of criticizing them, your brother simply asked, "If you had one chance to speak honestly today, without fear and without interruption, what would you say?" For a long moment, your soulmate couldn't answer. Tears quietly filled their eyes as they searched for the right words. Finally they admitted that if they could stand in front of you one more time, they would not begin with excuses. They would not blame circumstances, family pressure, or misunderstandings. They would simply apologize for allowing fear to speak louder than love. They would thank you for every moment you shared together and admit that losing your trust became the greatest lesson of their life. They said they now understood that real love is not measured by perfect circumstances but by the courage to remain honest when everything becomes difficult. Your brother listened carefully before asking one final question that no one else had dared to ask. What is the one truth you've never told anyone? Not even your own family? The room became completely silent. Your soulmate slowly reached into a small envelope they had been carrying with them throughout the conversation. They placed it gently on the table and said that inside was something they had protected for years. Something connected directly to you. Something that explained why they had never been able to forget. Your brother stared at the unopened envelope, completely unaware that what was hidden inside would force him to question everything he had believed until that very moment. Your brother looked at the envelope for several long seconds without touching it. He could sense that whatever was inside was far more important than an ordinary letter or an old photograph. The way your soulmate protected it with both hands revealed that this was something they had carried close to their heart for a very long time. The room became so quiet that even the smallest sound seemed louder than usual. Finally, your brother looked into your soulmate's eyes and asked one simple question. "Are you absolutely certain you're ready for me to see this?" Your soulmate nodded slowly. There was no hesitation anymore. They had reached the point where hiding the truth felt more painful than revealing it. With careful hands, your brother opened the envelope. Inside was not a legal document, nor a dramatic confession written in anger. Instead, it contained several folded pages, each one filled with words that had clearly been written at different moments over many months. Some pages had faded ink. Others showed signs of being folded and unfolded countless times. Your soulmate quietly admitted that none of these letters had ever been sent. Every time they gathered enough courage to reach out to you, fear convinced them to hide the pages once again. Rather than throwing them away, they kept every single one, believing that perhaps one day someone would finally understand everything they had never been able to say. Don't skip. Because what your brother read next left him completely speechless. The very first page began with a sentence that immediately caught his attention. It did not ask for forgiveness. It did not demand another chance. Instead, it simply said that if these words were ever discovered, it would mean your soulmate had finally accepted that the truth deserved to be heard, even if it arrived years too late. As your brother continued reading, he realized every page described a different chapter of regret. There were memories of ordinary days that had become priceless after losing you. There were descriptions of dreams that disappeared the moment both of you were separated. There were admissions that success had never brought real happiness because one person had always been missing from every achievement. Your brother paused before reading the next page. He looked up and quietly asked, "Why didn't you send even one of these?" Your soulmate smiled sadly before answering that every letter ended the same way. Just before mailing them, they imagined you living peacefully without them. They convinced themselves that reopening the past would only create more pain. So instead of risking your peace, they chose to carry the burden alone. At the time it felt like kindness. Years later they realized it had become another form of fear. As your brother continued reading, one paragraph stood out above everything else. It revealed that your soulmate had never truly stopped believing your paths might cross again someday. Even during the moments when they appeared happy to everyone else, a quiet part of their heart continued hoping that life would somehow create one final opportunity to explain everything honestly. They admitted that this hope had never disappeared, even when common sense told them to let go forever. That silent hope became the reason they kept every unsent letter instead of destroying them. Don't skip. Because your brother's next reaction changed everything. After finishing the final page, your brother carefully placed every letter back inside the envelope. For a long time he said nothing. Then he looked directly at your soulmate and quietly admitted that he had expected excuses, blame, or attempts to rewrite history. Instead, he had found something completely different. He had found genuine remorse. He had found someone who clearly understood the consequences of their choices. More importantly, he had found evidence that the feelings everyone believed had disappeared were still alive after all this time. Your soulmate lowered their head, almost unable to believe those words. They confessed that this conversation was never about asking anyone to convince you to come back. They only wanted one person in your family to know that despite every mistake they had made, one truth had never changed. Their feelings for you had remained real, even when circumstances forced them into silence. They said that carrying love in silence had become the hardest punishment they had ever experienced. Your brother slowly stood up and walked toward the window. Looking outside, he realized this conversation had completely changed his understanding of everything that had happened. For years he had believed the story was simple. Now he knew it had never been simple at all. There had been fear, outside influence, missed opportunities, and years of unspoken emotions hidden beneath the surface. He turned back toward your soulmate with a serious expression and asked one final question before ending the meeting. If I tell them everything you've shared with me today, are you prepared for whatever happens next? Your soulmate closed their eyes, took one deep breath, and answered with complete honesty. Yes. Even if they never forgive me, they deserve to know the truth. The moment those words left their lips, your brother reached into his pocket, took out his phone, and quietly said there was one person who needed to hear something immediately. Your soulmate froze, because they suddenly realized exactly who your brother was about to contact. Your soulmate watched as your brother unlocked his phone, but instead of immediately making the call, he paused. His thumb hovered over the screen for several seconds before he slowly lowered the phone again. He looked directly at your soulmate and said that once this conversation moved forward, nothing would ever be the same again. Some truths cannot be taken back after they are spoken. Some doors cannot be closed once they are opened. Your soulmate understood exactly what he meant. They nodded quietly, accepting that whatever happened next would be the result of choices made long ago. Your brother took a deep breath and asked one final favor before contacting you. He said, "If I'm going to tell them everything you've shared today, I need one promise from you. No more hiding. No more disappearing. No more allowing fear to make decisions that belong to your heart." Those words echoed through the room. They were simple, yet they carried the weight of every missed opportunity from the past. Without hesitation, your soulmate gave their word. They admitted they had already lost too much by remaining silent. They refused to lose one more chance because of fear. Don't skip. Because what your soulmate revealed next was something they had never spoken aloud before. Your soulmate slowly reached into their bag one last time and removed a small object wrapped in soft cloth. It wasn't expensive. It wasn't valuable because of money. It was valuable because of the memories attached to it. They carefully unwrapped it and placed it on the table. Your brother immediately recognized it. It was something connected to one of the happiest days you had once shared together. While everyone else believed it had been thrown away years ago, your soulmate had secretly protected it all this time. Whenever life became overwhelming, they would hold it in their hands for a few moments, reminding themselves that genuine love had once existed, even if they had failed to protect it. Your brother stared at the keepsake in complete silence. He realized this was not the behavior of someone pretending to care. This was someone who had carried invisible memories every single day without anyone ever noticing. He quietly asked why they had never shown this to anyone before. Your soulmate smiled sadly and admitted that some memories become too sacred to explain. Every time they looked at it, they remembered not only the beautiful moments, but also the painful lesson that fear can destroy what love tries so hard to build. The conversation then shifted in an unexpected direction. Your brother asked whether there had ever been a single day when your soulmate truly stopped thinking about you. The answer came immediately. No. There was no hesitation, no dramatic pause. They admitted that even during the busiest seasons of life, there was always one quiet moment when your name crossed their mind. Sometimes it happened while driving. Sometimes while watching the sunset. Sometimes after hearing a familiar song. Those unexpected reminders never disappeared. Instead, they became gentle reminders of a promise they had failed to keep. Don't skip. Because your brother finally made a decision that neither of them had expected. After listening to everything, your brother stood up and walked slowly toward the door. Before opening it, he turned around and spoke with complete honesty. He said he could not erase the past, and he could not pretend this conversation had never happened. Too much truth had been revealed. Too many years of silence had finally been broken. He believed that everyone deserved the opportunity to make decisions based on facts rather than misunderstandings. Your soulmate quietly thanked him, not because they expected everything to be fixed, but because for the first time in years, someone had listened without judging them before hearing the entire story. That alone lifted a burden they had carried for far too long. As they prepared to leave, they stopped at the doorway and spoke one final sentence that your brother knew he would never forget. If they choose a future without me, I will accept it. But I never wanted them to believe I stopped loving them. That was never the truth. Those words remained in the room long after your soulmate walked away.